Hey guys, what's going on? So I had a question today regarding my trade journaling and how do I trade journal. So I'm going to keep this video very simple and straight to the point. But just before I go into trade journaling, just to show you how this ties into it, is I also have my trade daily forecast in there. So there's a separate video I have in my channel where I talk about the daily forecasting. So if you search forecast on my channel, it will come up with how I do my daily forecast, but essentially I'll have it here. And this is an example of yesterday, and I had a forecast for coffee, and then as this trade shaped up, I was able to take it in accordance with my plan, right? So this is basically the daily forecast, and it all starts from this point. So I forecasted my trade, which is from the watch list I did on the Sunday, and then it shaped up Tuesday, and then I was able to put it on watch in the morning, and then I was able to take advantage of it. Then we go into the trade journaling. So I have my trade journal, which is here. Just give it a second to load. Great. So in here is basically the trades that I take, and essentially what I have over here was the trade that I took on the 17th. This was a bit of a mistake trade, so I closed it, absolute break even, like I opened it and then literally closed it, but I still journaled it. Now, one of the massive benefits of this is obviously I try to avoid taking too many trades. Like over this period is where I just started to realize I started over trading a lot, because I took 4 trades in a day. At this point here, you can see that I've applied a new rule in place where I'm actually only looking at taking, this is it's not a trade. I'm actually just looking at taking 1 trade maximum a day. I know it's a little bit restricting, but it helps prevent having days like this. Now, in some circumstances like this, it was profitable. You know, I made, call it around about 5-ish%. Next day, I took 2 trades and I made 11%. Like, okay, oh, maybe a bit more, 12, 13, 13%. Look, these things happen, but then at the same time, I open up the risk of it going the other way. Now, I have said to myself, if I'm considerably up in profit, then I'll be more lenient towards the rule of 1 trade per day. So if I'm in break even or drawdown, I'll only take 1 trade a day, just to kind of point it out as just an observation there. So as you can see, most of these trades are on my FTMO account. What I wanted to kind of go here about was, here's the coffee trade, and I'm just going to expand that for a second. And this is how I journal my trades. So it doesn't have to be as detailed as this, and we'll just create a quick new document to show you how simple and easy it can be. And I'm going to show you how I literally create it so you can go off and do it yourself, which will also give you that experience with using Notion. If you weren't aware, sorry, this program is called Notion. And then it'll give you that experience, and then you can kind of learn how to tweak and add and remove things. And if you don't really know, there's loads of templates online, not for trading like this specifically. Perhaps you might find one, but more importantly, just generic templates you can play around with and tweak. So here I'll put my pair that I'm trading. So in this example, it's coffee. Then in this example, I did take a 1% loss. This goes into my trading plan. What trade was it? Was it a type 8? I've got 2 entry types in my plan, so that goes in there. Then I've got what phase is it in? So is it in the impulsive phase? You know, once again, these go more into strategy specific. And then I talk about the trend to make sure that I'm not trading counter trend, or if I am trading counter trend, how am I trading it? So in this example, I was technically going counter trend because we just broke all-time highs, we pushed down. Nothing's fully confirmed, so it does make it slightly higher risk. So this is the discrepancy where on my forecast I saw it as low risk, but then when it shaped up, it was higher risk than what I originally forecast, making the trade that I took high risk. And that was the 1 line difference that I noticed, that I was looking for a low risk position, but I opted in for the higher risk position, just because it just didn't fit the criteria perfectly. So once again, that's something for myself. These are just characteristics that I note, because when I go and filter for the future and I want to see all the entries I took with a 4-hour retrace candlestick confirmation, I can go and check it Once again, in the earlier stages, this is not going to be massively beneficial, but when you go into the more advanced stages and you want to go refine it, having data like that is very useful, because then you can look at all the trades with daily pin bars, you can look at all the trades with pushing a flag, for example, etc. What direction? So it was a bullish trend, I took a short direction, and so that's counter trend. Sequence was clean. The risk entry and so forth, so I've got all my criteria there. And then I do also log the risk per the position. So in this particular example, I took a 1% risk. Stop protection was 42 pips. What was my flow zone? That comes into more rewired trader. It's more about like the energy that you have towards the focus, and so many different layers to it. But how connected are you with your better version of yourself when it comes to trading? Management style, so I have multiple management styles that I go through. I don't know if you watch all my content, but I've got a loose management style, I've got a 1-3-5-7 method, I've got a semi-aggressive, aggressive, and then I've got a mechanical method as well. So, you know, and then also I talk about how was the price moving in sequence leading up to the position. So I don't only just look at how did price get to the entry, I look at how did price get to the point of getting to the entry, and then when it's moving away I need to observe that as well. So it also keeps me self-aware with certain things that I may not look at. So yeah, on top of that, sorry I had to cut the video off for a second, just grab my coffee. And yeah, so essentially forecast. Did I forecast it? Yes. Did I forecast the entry? Yes. And then once again, as we mentioned, that leads on to the forecasting document. So you can see how this now connects with the daily forecast. I did the daily forecast before I took the entry essentially. So we can then see how it's all connected. And then over here, we can see that then I take the screenshots and I go down accordingly. So I do daily, weekly, 4 hour, and so forth. And then I also write about them. So, again, you know, this comes with experience over time. There was a time where my forecasting looked really bad, right? It was probably terrible. I probably didn't put as much notes, probably like weekly time frame. Weekly looks great. Strong push down, that's all I would write. And then 4 hour I'd write, you know, 4 hours rejected from value area, pushed away, now looking for 1 hour, you know, and I wouldn't put details, and sometimes the clues are in the details. Also, you want to look at so many different things. So that's why where I ended up getting too zoomed in, I started realizing I need to master the higher time frames, like you always being told, right? And then when I did go off, then I started being able to talk about more things on the higher time frames. But you can see how I've really taken my time out with this as well. It's not something that I rush, because it's a part of the process, and if you rush any part of the process, you're going to start rushing your trades, your entries, and that's where impulsive behavior can also come from. So what I found personally, that even when you look at my forecasting, you can see that it's not really rushed. You know, I take my time out, and I write it descriptively. And I think this is very important as well, equally, because you don't want to ever be rushing. Like if you wake up in the morning to do your daily forecast, and that's your main priority for the day, let's say for trading, why would you just quickly bosh it? Why would you quickly just do it so fast? What's the point? Why don't you just really take your time? Like if it means that, you know, you do your forecast at 7, you need to be out the door by 8, you've got an hour between it and you have loads of things to do and you don't have the time, then wake up earlier. Wake up earlier and do a proper forecast. Sit here for however long it takes. You know, 15 to 20 minutes is perfect. You know, 15-20 minutes, you collect the correct screenshots, make sure everything you need is in there, and then you can talk about it very clearly. Sometimes you don't have to write a lot as well, because there's not a lot to write. For example, here, this was yesterday's, but let me go on to today's one. And if I just pull it up here, you'll see on today's one, I then can see over here that I put in, you know, the variations of what price could do. I didn't have to write something crazy in there. I then did the same for the SPX and the JP225, and then I went into my Aussie New Zealand trade, right? Now, obviously, this is one of those ones where I think a lot of people overcomplicate their process, and I'm just going to show you how to keep it very, very simple. Okay, this is all you really need. So if I go over here, and yeah, yeah, let's start with a fresh document, okay? So let's say this is your trading journal, right? Look, you can go off and you can go on here, click templates, and you can find something. You can even write journal, and it will come up with something pretty easy like here, right? It's got, this one actually looks pretty good, to be honest. I think I downloaded it earlier today. I'll just double check. No, I didn't. But let's just have a little look. Preview. Yeah, that looks good. Look, you got each month. Cool. I can just click on the month. Let's add that to my workspace. Add to private. Okay, add to private. Template is being added. I don't know how long that's going to take. Oh, maybe that's it already. Yeah, okay, cool. So I just downloaded that template as you saw it, and it's in here now. And wait, hang on a second. Is this the same one? I don't think this is the same one I just downloaded. Surely. If it is, that's pretty amazing. It's a pretty decent template. But anyway, you don't need to have a template like this. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is the same template. I'm getting a bit confused. Let's just go back to the one I just used, which was Trade Journal, and let's just say that you're creating one from scratch. Okay, so you're going to have this as your main page. Okay, you can just put table/table, and you can put just put a table of contents, and you can have it in here, and they should load up in a second. Let me just do that again. /table. Even if I do table view, that's not an issue. Okay, great, that's come up, and I'll just put in here journal, and I'll put in here, just close that tab. I'll put in here journal, rename journal. Great. Okay, you can name them whatever you want. You can even remove them. You don't have to see it as well. You can hide that. You can have it very clean and just simple like this. And then if you wanted to add in columns here, you can. So I can just put you know, let's say I wanted to have, well, we have to find a purpose for them first. So let's say that this is my my account, because I might have multiple accounts, right? So let's just say as an example, I have an FTMO, I have a Falcon Fund, I have a I don't know what other one there is, Alpha, let's say, right? Alpha Capital. So let's just call it AC. All right, so we've got 3, or personal capital, I think that's better. All right, so we've got 3 accounts here. Then over here we can change that. We can click on the tag, and we can change this, and we can even add something actually, which is more useful. The better way to probably do it is click on here, and you can just start adding them in here, and then they'll start adding it in here, as you can see. So if I go here and then I put something like let's remove that one quickly and put something that's actually useful. Add the property. I can then go and select, let's say I wanted to put a percentage amount, so I can go to number, and then in number I can put number type, and then number format, and just find that as percentage, right? So I want to put a percentage, and then in there that's all selected, and let's say I put that as P&L, right? And then in this particular case, let's just say that trade was 5%. So if I just put 5, it comes up 5.2, 5.2. If it's minus, I can put, you know, minus 0.25, for example, right? Then I've got the tags. Over here I can click rename, and then I can put over here, you know, pair. And the great thing about this is because I've selected it as multi-select, you can play around with these and figure out what's what, but I've multi-select. I don't want multi-select because I'm only trading one pair, so I'll click select. And then I'm going to put it manual, and then I think I'm happy with all of those settings, and then in here I can start adding stuff, AUD, USD, right? I can add another one, which is GBP, USD, right? And then so forth, Euro, USD, and you can see how I can only select one at once. If you use the other one, what it does, which was multi-select, it then allows you to have multiple things selected. We don't want that. You can have it on there, it doesn't matter, it just means that you could confuse yourself and you don't really need it. So we want to keep it as we said, select. Then we do that, we go into the next one, and let's say entry date. You know, we can keep it as entry date. You can put 48 at 24-hour format. If you want it to be in UK format, day, month, year, you can select that, and then you can put that, and then it just automatically goes today. Boom, I took the entry date today. GBP USD, this and that. Okay, right, whatever data you want to have, you can have in there. Don't make it so complicated. As time goes on, you can add, you can remove, and you can tweak it, and you can do whatever you want with it. Less is more. Keep it very simple when you start, because if you overdo it, you're less likely to use it, right? If I went off and gave you the template for my one, it's going to be so overcomplicated for you. You're going to be less likely to want to journal because it feels like so much work. That's why I always say keep it very simple at first, and then later when you do start to build a proper trading plan and you're collecting data, you can tweak this and add it. But the great thing about it is you built it, so you can do that. So then over here, the most important thing now is that you keep it very simple again, and we put a piece of text in there, and the text we're going to have in here is, call it weekly, daily, or you can just put the letters, right? So W stands for weekly, D stands for daily, then you've got 4 hour, 1 hour, 15 minute, and then let's just say for argument's sake we also have 5, right? Then over here I can go in here and I want to turn this one into, so I just clicked on those little squares next to it, I clicked on that, turn into, and I want to turn it into a header, so I put it into header 1. You can actually do this. There's loads of shortcuts as well, so if you want to learn the keyboard shortcuts, you can go onto Google and you can search it and find it. If you're smart, you can start figuring out quicker ways to do things over time, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. Great, so we have our time frames. I want to kind of make that a little bit more clear, so I can click over here and go over to color, and then over here I have 2 options. I can change the color of the text, or I can put a background where that blue highlighted bar is. I want to put a background where the blue highlighted bar is, and I want to make it blue, right? So now I talk about the keyboard shortcuts. When you went over here, we could see that it says if you press Ctrl Shift H, you can use the last used color. So I press on my keyboard Ctrl Shift H, and I get that, right? Again, Ctrl Shift H, and I can just repeat the process going all the way down. Right, so now I've got all of these. I want to be able to add an image, but I don't want to just keep having to copy and paste it. Sometimes I want to click, so I can press /image, and it comes up with this box. So I know that I can just copy and paste those into all of these now. Right, I used Control C and Control V to copy and paste those, and now I have it on all of them. So what do we have now? Well, essentially what I have is a template here where I can essentially just use this throughout all of my trades. So I'm gonna just remove this quickly because we don't need this information. We'll just do that. Just gonna, well, I don't know how to remove that, but there's a way to do it anyway. So what you want to be doing now is I want to be using this as the template, so I'm just going to copy this whole section I've done down here, and I'm going to go up here, up here where it says new, and then click new template, and then in here I'm just going to paste that. Right, or you could have just built it on the new template section, and then over here it's done. So if you have only one account, you can always just put FTMO here, and it will automatically set that for you. But because I have 3 accounts, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep it like this, and then that's it. And it's as simple as that for me. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. If I wanted to add an emotional journal down here, put my before after thoughts, I can add that in there as well, right? So I basically got that there now, and then what does that mean? That means I can click new, and then automatically, oops, let me just go there, check my new template, so you can see it says empty. The one I just built is here, so I want to click there and put set as default, right? And for all journals, only this journal view, because I have other journals. I might want to rename that if I want to, but you can see now that every time I go and make something, and let's say I remove these, and I'll create a new one, straight away what happens, it automatically is loading, and then I've got the same format for it. So then I can say in here, okay, I took a trade on Aussie US dollar. Over here, P&L, made 3%, and then I can put in the screenshots, swap over to TradingView, in here, screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. And let's just use that as an example. So let's just say I took this trade and I pasted it in here, right? And I've got all of that. And then I'm like, oh, hang on a second. I want to put notes. I didn't do that. Well, the great thing about it is you can just go back a second. You can go back over here, you can click new, go to edit, edit again. And then over here, we can go here. I'm just going to highlight that and press enter because it gives me a new box under it. And I can press / call out, right? By doing that, it allows me to then have a section where I put my notes in. If I don't want to change, if I want to change the color of the text, I can just click on those little colors there. And so I want it to be yellow. I want my notes to be yellow. Great, I'm happy with that. I can then take this box, click on it, and then highlight over that, and it will paste it under it. And I do the same for all of them. So this is the template. Now that's done, I can click over here, press Control S, Control Shift S, Control S, saves the page. And then now I can click out of this. I can say, okay, that was incorrect, I'm not happy with that. I want to create a new one. And now when I create a new one, straight away we can see it's loading. I can put in the top Aussie US dollar. This one was on my FTMO. Then I can say entry date was today, P&L was 5%. My computer's being a little bit slow, but it will load in a second, and it will come up with all those boxes. Just give it a second. Yeah, and still needs a bit more time, so I'm just going to pause it and come back as soon as it loads. Great, okay, so while Notion was loading up, I just thought I'll take this platinum trade and I'll log that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to log the information from here. So I'm just going to go back a second, not to that trade, to this one here. And I'll replay that back to, let's just say around about here. Cool, and we'll go weekly. So you can see that I've selected the time frames, weekly, daily, 4 hours, so forth. Now we're going to fill it in. So obviously that candle won't be all the way down there, just bear that in mind. But the weekly's here, we're waiting for price to tap into that area. Price is tapped into it, trade is now shaped up. We can then go and put our weekly screenshot in. So we go to our document, we have XPT selected up here, and then we can add that in here. Go back to our trading view, go to the daily time frame, and the thing is, we don't need to have all of that information in the screenshot. We need to see what's relevant, and it's this. So really and truly, I can add it in there because it's not crazy, but more importantly, I'm just looking at price. This whole section here, I already know what's happened on the weekly. The weekly's come in, tapped into that level of a hook point, either that hook point as well there, and it's responded and sold off. Great, cool, that's completely fine. We're now all the way down here. So if I'm looking at the daily, I want to make sure that I can actually see the daily. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they're not capturing the whole picture in there. So I want to make sure I can see all of this. This stuff is quite irrelevant right now. What's more relevant is the information that I'm looking at here. So is it all in the picture? Yes. Take the screenshot, go back over to my Notion, and can paste that in there. Great, now I have it there. Then I can do the 4 hour. There's two ways you can do this as well. Just want you to bear that in mind. Is you could do it the way that I do it, where I take the screenshots and do the notes in Notion, or you can just put it in here on each time frame and you can talk about it, and then you can put that with your screenshot, whichever you feel comfortable with, honestly. So we have that as the value error. What happened was we pushed up, we tapped into it. I was waiting for rejection and I took the rejection here, and let's just say for argument's sake I wick cropped around about here, or let's say I didn't. Let's just say I took the whole wick into consideration and I understood to the low the risk reward was about 3 to 1. Cool, okay, fine. I'm personally not too favorable for that, so I would have gone for a more refined entry. But let's say for the sakes of the video, you know, we got in with a 13 pip stop loss, and that met the criteria and so forth. Obviously we'll be able to see that closer as we go to the lower time frames. So I've got my entry in there. Is it relevant for me to have all of that information there? Not really. What's most relevant is this. I know where the low is, I know the structure I'm trading, and this is it. I could arguably start adding on lines like this and all of this stuff, but I'm just cluttering up my charts and I don't need it. So what I'm really going to do is I'm just going to take my screenshot like this, go onto my thing, put it in there. Just need to demonstrate what is relevant, and I can see everything. I don't need to overcomplicate it. Then I go over to here, go to the 1 hour now. The entry I took was on the 4 hour, but let's say for argument's sake, we do go to lower time frames. We can see this consolidation there. I'm just going to go to the 15-minute, and there isn't really a 15-minute consolidation. If there was a 15-minute entry, I could opt in. No, there was nothing that really piqued my interest except this over here. So yeah, arguably, there probably was a trade here. Yeah, no, I definitely think that protection up here would have been the best. So the one that we've got already is good. Yeah, and you'd be good here. Yeah. Ooh, just about. See if it commits. Always like watching these. And then yeah, it did commit. So yeah, good. Reason why protection was there is because obviously you had that little point there. It was retesting that. And we just kind of had it just above. But all in all, that doesn't matter. That wasn't what we're really here to look at. We're looking at that entry there on the 4 hour. So is it necessary for me to take the 1 hour and that? Not really, but I do it. I do it for data collection purposes so I can come back and look at it, but I don't need it. So this was my screenshots. Now, I do actually have an additional section that I didn't mention, which was the results section. So I'm just going to add that in, but rather than me having to recreate everything now, I can just simply just copy this. I'll put a divider, so I can just put div divider, which just adds a little line there, and then below it I'll paste this, just remove that screenshot and just put result, right? Hope I spelled that right. RESULT, results. Yeah. And then in there I'll put my result of my trade. Okay, simple. And because I've done it on here, I don't want to forget to do it on my template. So I will just swap over, go to my template, quickly click edit, go in there, and then I'll go down here, put divide, add that in there, and I'll also add my result section, result section in there too, right? So this is awesome because now, save that, if I create a new document, it will give me the same template. So in here we have our screenshots. Let's say I put my, I write my analysis here, so forth, so forth, so forth, up to the entry, and then once the trade is played out, let's say, I'm managing it into that lows 1.7, get a bit aggressive for some reason, it's then hovering and it takes me out. Great. Now, obviously, in a real case scenario, I wouldn't have been that aggressive. I probably would have given it some room to just play out. And as it approaches that low where I'm really looking at it, I'd really be looking to get out around about there, because for 1 point something percent, I'd rather just be up here somewhere protected, high up in the run, and then let's see price play out, and then take it into the low. It's running around about 4% anyway now. At that point there, I could then easily be like, I'm happy to get aggressive in these areas because I know there's a high probability for it to pull back. So then I could just get super aggressive, or I could just go about 3 point something, a bit more loose, and then see how that plays out. But truly, because you're at those lows, you're already broken those lows, for the sake of 4.2 to around about 4.8, do you really want to just be so loose on it? Now just take your 4%, walk away. 4.2, it's good. I'm happy with that. I'm not trying to in hope to see price just keep committing to the downside. Like 4.2 is great. So the way I see it is, I went out here, the low was there, we tapped into this low, we know that we don't have to come to that low yet, and then I was out mechanically right here, and result over here, and then I can put blah 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 whatever, and then 4%. Right. Great thing about this is, if you are like myself, you can add in here, you can have a select tool, and you can put management, and then in there you can put your management style, for example loose or whatever you have, aggressive, and then you can just basically select the management style that you wanted prior to taking the trade when you were in it, and then as you got there you can then review it and say, was I aggressive with my management, was I loose, did I do what I said I was going to do, and so forth. So that's a very simple, easy way to start journaling. Obviously if you are in Falcon, you already have a template they give you, but this is a very easy way you can create your own template. Only takes a little bit of time. Hopefully from watching this video, it gave you a very good insight. But let's go look at the one that I just found on Notion, and if I click down here, let's say that I select this. Okay, that's interesting. So I mean, one thing I did like about this one is how it was laid out like this, and then I have each month, and then I can click in the month, and then perhaps maybe what I just created I can put in here. So I could probably take that journal that I just made, I think it was this one, hope it was this one, no it wasn't, but yeah, so you can just take that and you can be so creative with these things, honestly. Like, once you build it to your specifics, it's great, honestly. So again, if I wanted to create a new document, everything is there. I just have to put in here, I put my FFX, I say that I took another trade, Euro USD, the trade I took was today, management, I decided to be loose on this one, profit and loss, screenshots, result, boom, everything's in there, notes, quick, easy, done, right? Didn't have to overcomplicate it. Eventually, in the future, you will get to the point of having something like this. That's not the goal, that's just something that I started, as I just showed you, I started like the same way you will, and then eventually I built on top of it. And then I was able to collect more data, and then I started to realize I want to collect particular data. So then what would happen is I would go here, add a filter, and I would put something like, I would add a filter which was high risk, grade. I would add grade in there, and then in grade I would put high risk, and then I would put low risk. And then what I would do is I would go through all my trades, and I'll just open them up, go through it and be like, that one is high risk, go to the next one, and then next thing you know, I've been able to do it really quickly, and I've added a whole new section. Then every other trade I go through next will have the grade section in it, right? So I hope that you found this video useful. If you did find it useful, or there was any questions that you had, do feel free to drop a comment. I'll be more than happy to get back to you and kind of point you in the same direction. But overall, you can see the power of how simple trade journaling is. But overall, when you've collected data like this, it's pretty awesome. I'm pretty sure you can agree with that. So I hope this video was super useful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on YouTube comments or on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to help you with anything. Take care.